Hey guys, welcome to Black Gumbo. I have got me some mint here and a lot of other herbs that I picked up because, well, I like to cook. So let's go plant some herbs. So when I was a kid, I grew up in suburbia, and my neighbor had a bunch of this mint in their garden, and I loved the smell of it. I'd go and sneak leaves off of there and pluck them off. I really don't like mint in general and as a flavoring, but I love the smell of mint, and I like fresh mint. I like fresh mint in various dishes, and so I'm going to be cooking with some mint later on this year when the garden kind of slows down and I start picking up developing my cooking videos, which there are some there. Ali Sheba Kitchen is my cooking blog, and yeah, I like to cook, and so I've got a lot of fresh herbs. So let's put these in pots. I picked up some new containers today at the big box store. Got me a nice little stand to put them on my patio, and I'm just really excited about this. It's a gray overcast, kind of ugly day. We're going to get some heavy rain tomorrow, but I'm going to brighten my day with some herbs. Now I got these typical kind of plastic, last you about 5-year boxes, but they don't come with any drain holes, so you got to add those to them. And you want good drainage in your soil. And so I'm going to take my drill, and that's what, about a quarter, a little less than a quarter of an inch drill bit. I just picked it out of my stack of drill bits, and I'm going to put some holes in here. Now I don't need many. You just want enough so that your water will drain and you won't have your roots standing in water, because if the roots are standing in water, you're going to end up with root rot and your plants are not going to thrive. So just a few holes at the lowest point, that's all I need. These are going to be up off the ground, so I don't have to worry about these being up against the concrete, because if you put it up against the concrete, you want to put your holes probably right in here. That would be a good practice. Now, as for potting mix, what I'm going to put in here is my basic potting mix that I've recycled from last year, and I'm going to refresh it with some compost and a little bit more perlite. But you just want a basic potting mix that's loose, has a lot of organic material, and drains well. So you could go to the store and just buy you a bag of potting mix, or you can use something that you home make. But I'm gonna fill these up with that potting mix after I put my mulch in. Now to aid in drainage, I'm going to put a little bit of mulch in the bottom, just enough to provide a coarser material than my potting mix, and that ought to keep the holes from plugging up over the years. Now, I've already used most of my compost this year, and the compost that I have remaining is difficult to get to. I've got to remove a pile and get down to the bottom of it. So I purchased some of this organic humus, which is essentially compost. It's cow manure and peat moss, and it's got a few other things in it, but this is a good amendment to my depleted soil over there. So I'm going to add this, and I'm going to add this organic humus, about half and half, and I'm going to put a couple shovels full of perlite in there. Perlite is just a expanded volcanic rock, and it helps to add air, tilth, and retains moisture. It's just a good thing to add to your soils in a potting circumstance. Perlite is like I said, an expanded volcanic rock, and it's very porous and very lightweight. It helps with aeration in the soil. It helps with retaining moisture, and that's all those white speckles you see when you buy a plant at the nursery. Now you don't want to breathe the dust from this stuff. Fortunately, it's a very 95% humidity day, and this stuff's pretty wet, so I don't have to really worry much about the dust. But if you get the fine grade from like an aquaponics supply store, then you got to watch out for the dust. Now we're going to mix this up. Alright, let's take this over to the garden table. So what I'll do is I'll fill this up pretty close to the top. I'm going to leave room for about a 1-inch layer of mulch. I'm a firm believer in mulch in all things, especially in container plants, where you want to retain moisture and keep the fluctuation of the temperatures and the moisture level as stable as you can. In my area, you're not going to be able to stabilize any kind of container, but the mulch will help you at least have have a little bit of an edge over the heat. Now I have here some rosemary. Man, this is my favorite herb. I love this stuff. I love to just run your hands over it and then just smell your fingers. It smells like you're, you know, this is the best smell, the best herb in the world, and this thing is packed with essential oils. The problem is I've never been able to grow rosemary, even though there's a grocery store in Wimberley, Texas, up near San Antonio, and behind that grocery store is a retaining wall, and cascading over that retaining wall is tons and mats of this stuff, and this rosemary just grows wild out there. So I know it grows well in some places, and if I can't grow it here in this pot, well, I probably need to hang up my hat. I'm also going to put in this pot some German thyme. I really love thyme. There's a good roasted potato recipe that, man, this is going to be perfect for. And then over here I'm going to put some dill and some oregano. So yeah, it couldn't be easier to pot a store-bought plant. These are pretty hardy plants in terms of the, you don't have to baby them or anything, but you just dig yourself a hole, and you can grab my trowel here, and basically I'm just going to wedge open a little spot here about the size of the cup. Now, like I've said before, I really would prefer to start my own seed, and I've done that in almost all the years past, but this year we had such a kind of year where I couldn't start seed, so I had to buy these Bonnie plants. You know what? They're going to taste just fine at dinner time. And you just drop them in there, and you know, that's pretty much done. You cover them up to the base of their natural growing area, kind of press them in there, and that's it. All right, let's put a rosemary in. This rosemary makes me happy. Now look at that root system. This is a plant that really needs to get in here. And you could break that up a little. These roots are kind of dead down here anyway. They're going to find their way. So I'm just going to put them in just like that. Loosen them just a little bit. Now, I don't know all my herbs by sight, so I'm going to have to keep these labels in here. I'm going to come back later and put some nicer, more quaint labels in there, because I like quaint stuff. I'm actually really into kind of vintage, and I like the lore of the garden, and I don't want this corporate logo being advertising at me every day, so I'll come back in and put some proper labels on there. Now look at those roots. This was a root bound plant. All these roots are looking to spread out, so we're going to give them a little help, break off some of that root, drop it right down in there. Man, this smell, I cannot tell you how much I love this smell. This is the smell of a good meal. This is the smell. I once took a trip down Highway 1 in California, and I came to what was that place? Half Moon Bay, perhaps? A little place I stopped at, a little gas station, had a little planter outside, and it was filled with this stuff. And that's where I first started to understand that rosemary is one of the best plants on the planet. Here's another thing you might consider. Sometimes when you go to the grocery store and you're looking for some oregano or some fresh thyme or some fresh rosemary, and you buy those little packets they've got there about that big, plastic packets, or sometimes you can find the plugs in there that are, you know, little plants about 10 inches tall, and they sell them. But if you go outside the grocery store, they've got racks and racks of this stuff for cheaper than you can get it inside. You could actually buy yourself a Bonnie plant and save yourself some money. Anyway, I got this handy little Vigoro brand made in China metal table that ought to last here in my climate about 3 or 4 years, about as long as the plastic. This is 2-level little stand to fit these planters. It ought to fit them just nicely and just properly and rightly. Hello, baby. What you doing? Good girl. Here we go. Now I put those that container up on bricks, the one that's on the concrete, because like I said before, if you have your holes drilled in the bottom, it's not going to drain really well if you're just if you're sealing them up by putting them flat on the ground. Those bricks have some grooves in them, so that ought to drain pretty well. And beneath that pot gives a nice place for the lizards to hide out, so I like that. Once you get these in the soil, the next thing you need to do is water them in. With any kind of transplant, you always put it in good soil, good drainable soil, good drainage, good tilth, and then you water them in. And so it's no different. But we've got rain coming tomorrow, and these plants were not dry, so I'm going to let them. I'm going to let the rain water them in tomorrow and see how these containers drain. So yeah, we've got some dill. We've got some. I already forgot what that was in there. Some oregano. We got some dill. We got some oregano. We got some rosemary in the middle, and we have some thyme on each side. And I've got some other herbs I need to plant up, but for now, you know, I'm going to sit here in my rocking chair as the sun goes down, and I'm going to smell the rosemary on my fingers. I'm going to put some cilantro in this little clay pot. This is not a very big pot, and it really is kind of the lower end of what I'm comfortable with in terms of size. This thing has had chamomile in it last year, and it grew really well. That chamomile just grew like crazy and cascaded down over the table I had it on. But I don't know, cilantro is kind of a weed around here too. We use a lot of cilantro. We use tons and tons of cilantro. Being in Texas, we love Tex-Mex food, and we like to cook tacos and quesadillas, and we use a lot of cilantro. So I'm going to plant my 2 cilantro plants. Here they are. There we go. Cilantro. It's looking a little ragged now, but that stuff, I assure you, is like a weed and will grow up pretty strong and fill that pot up. Alright, well, thanks for joining me today on Black Gumbo. Y'all subscribe and hit the bell button. You'll be notified of our future videos, and we're putting them out this spring in more frequency. I'm aiming for maybe 2 to 3 videos a week, usually in the latter half of the week, and we're really pressing to log our garden this year, and we're really grateful for all the subscriptions. So thanks for all the support, and we'll talk to you next time. Bye-bye.